everybody. Early birds. Hello, early birds who've come to catch the worms. Oh, that's a good start. I've got to laugh. Oh dear. I'm just going to introduce you to the beautiful Annette Burmaster, horticulturalist, genuine legend.
I'll add that on.
When I started getting people asking me for advice on worm farms, I decided it was time to get an expert in. And my roots are basically KeySAP environmental and waste education, so I've always handed over to somebody else to do the instruction for worm farming and composting. Practical skills in a world where growing your own food is more important than ever. I think you'll agree, yeah? So we've just had to set up here on the flat. I was hoping to get you on the elevation, but it's just too wet and muddy. So come in where you can see and hear. All right.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy. Morning, everybody. So yes, my name is Annette. I've had a full life career in horticulture. So everything from regeneration for mining companies in Queensland to lecturer at TAFE with horticulture. So I'm a consultant. I do travel around and help people in their gardens. I'm also a landscape designer. Now that I'm out of teaching at TAFE, etc., I am writing courses and doing workshops and helping, using all the knowledge I've gained over the years to help everybody else. So let me have a go at doing this one for you today. This is a new platform, so I am a little bit nervous. I'm going to read from my paper. So my business is Grow Wild Gardens, and it's also my ethos. I think it's a method of growing that we should all look at. We should let weeds grow. We should let all our vegetables and things like that self-sow. We should grow our flowers together. If we've got weeds in the garden, they grow themselves. We don't have to do anything. And if they're there, we've at least got some food and medicine that we're not even worried about. So as a horticulturist, I'm aware that the best way to fix our soils is to use composting and worm farming. Synthetic fertilisers from the hardware stores are made from chemicals, so we need to be natural. The chemicals in the fertilisers, if we use them or overuse them, they will cause salinity in our soil, and they are a chemical, so we want to go organic, we want to be healthy. If you want to leave your email address with me later, I'm happy to share my notes and stockists and contacts, things like that. So I've got 3 businesses who've donated their products here today. We've got the Australian Worm Firm, so he's supplied me with his worm castle and the swag there, and some of his worms and things to share. I've got SA Composters, so they do an organic products, so feel free to have a look. So we've got compost and potting media in here. So to get your garden started, use organic products. So local South Australian businesses. We've got Nutrog as well, another South Australian local. They also do organic products. Some of them are certified organic. Okie doke. So I've also brought a little compost homemade worm farm. So there's a lot online about making your own, so if you can't afford a worm farm to start off with, you can get these for free. And all I did at home was put a layer of compost or potting mix on the bottom, put my food scraps, another layer of compost, potting mix, soil, whatever. As you can see, I've grown some chilies on the top without even trying, by just chucking some seeds in there. So free, very easy to do, and especially if you've got small spaces, you can do it at home. Okay. So as many of you know, the garden chemicals, potting mixes and fertilisers available at big chain stores are made by overseas companies. They are owned by companies like Monsanto and Bayer. So even some of the potting mixes are owned by them. You just have to do a little bit of a research. Another reason to buy these products, we know they come from here. So these companies also make the glyphosate, which I think people are pretty aware of now. Glyphosate not only kills us, cancer, autoimmune diseases, but it does kill the worms. It does kill all the microbiomes, oops, mixing up my words, microbiomes in the soil, so that means our soil is dead. So we're told, no, it doesn't do anything to your soil. It does. It's easy to do soil testing, so if people are worried about how much nutrients do I have in my soil, you can do a soil test and send it off locally. It costs just over $100, but it comes back with full details of all the nutrients in your soil, what's lacking in your soil, and then you can focus on what you need to add. You can also do chemical tests to find out heavy metals and all of those kind of things, so that's important for people who want to grow organics, perhaps a new property, permaculture, all of those things. So food is our medicine, the earth is our home, and soil is what connects us and gives us life. So this is the reason we're concentrating on our soils and learning about compost and worm farms. Healthy soil, healthy food, healthy immune systems. I think we all know how important it is to keep our immune systems as healthy as possible. We can only be as healthy as our food, and our food is only as healthy as our soil. So that's why we want to put as much nutrients in our soil as possible, and this is where the composting is a big part of this. To give you some context, South Australia has some of the poorest nutrient deficient soils in the country. Much of our land is home to monoculture agriculture. This means growing only one crop on a broad scale, and this method is simply not sustainable for our earth and our future. I think we can all see the damage that it's done for many, many years. Large-scale farming has led to disconnection to our food as big farms and corporations have taken over. We need to take back the responsibility of growing food. As Clive Blasey from the Diggers Club said, all animals that become disconnected from their food source have become extinct. Many people around the world, we're disconnected from our food source. Our children don't even play outside anymore. Actually, in schools they have people they employ to come in to show children how to play in nature. So it's quite unusual times, that's for sure. So the soil in which our food is grown has been poisoned and poisoned and poisoned. And this poison includes the synthetic fertilisers. And these are the only things keeping our crops alive because the soil is so depleted there's nothing left. These crops are the food staples on our tables. So for breakfast, we're eating glyphosate on our toast, and believe me, we've all got glyphosate in our body. It's in the water, it's everywhere. It's been so used, it's difficult to keep away from it. During the week, I was actually at a community organic garden, sitting with a group of ladies, and we were talking about health and chemicals. And along comes this guy with his spray pack, spray, no PPE, and I said, "Stop! What are you spraying?" He said, "Oh, glyphosate." And I said, "Well, you're not spraying that here." I said, "It's a carcinogenic." I said, "I don't want to breathe that in today." So he stopped. But it's just everywhere. The amount of conversations I say to people, "Are you spraying glyphosate?" "You're right here." I don't want to breathe that in. A lot of times I do get abused, but I don't care. I'm told to pull my head in. "Who are you? What do you know?" And I tell them who I am and what I know, and then they go, "Oh, I just got a lecture from a lecturer." "Yes, you did." And then I'll say, "What's your company? What's your business name?" And they won't tell me. But put the responsibility back. Tell people. There's your children, there's your pets. You know, why are people sick? Anyway, so forests, bushlands and other environmental places naturally create their own compost systems. So the earth knows how to look after itself. So these environmental systems, they provide the habitat, they protect the soil, and they provide nutrients to the soil. As we know, our nature places have been shrinking rapidly for decades. Many of our vegetable plants grow in the top 30 centimetres of soil, so many growers will know that. So that's the important part where we really want our nutrients to be. The topsoil, the very top layers, are usually only about 10 to 15 centimetres, so not a lot. But this area here holds a majority of our nutrients, and it's very easy for this soil to blow away, which is what happens in agriculture. So all those beautiful nutrients have blown away. Bare soil attracts plants that have a very bad reputation. So these plants are called weeds. Weeds are not all bad. In fact, they can do wonderful things. They can provide valuable surface cover and prevent the topsoil from blowing away. They can help with erosion. As they grow, they fertilise the soil. As they grow, they clean the soil of pollutants, including heavy metals. I do know of a story in one of our big industrial areas, soaked with oil, chemicals for many, many, many years. It's stained, it's dead. Some weeds start to grow. They're starting to clean the soil. Council comes along with their glyphosate. This is what happens. Okay, as they grow, they provide porosity to the soil. This means air through the roots, which is very important for clay soils that are really heavy. Their flowers provide food for pollinators. Many are highly nutritious and a valuable food source. Keep that in mind, people. Valuable food source. They have healing properties and a valuable source of medicine. These are the things that we need to start to learn. Incidentally, with all the lack of sunshine and other pollutants, our main veggie crops that we grow, you'll notice the leaves have all got different coloured spots all over them. These are all fungal diseases. There's been a rapid increase in fungal disease since probably autumn last year. So now we've come around very little sunshine, and this is what's going to happen as we continue through. This is why we need to be diverse. We need to plant a diversity of plants. If these crops are going to fail, you need to have something else in your garden. Think about native plant food. They don't care about viruses. Okay? All right. Yes. Oh, shit, sorry, I talk too much. so much to share. All right. 30 minutes, okay. I'll get straight into the process of composting. So it's the process that involves decomposing organic matter. So natural living materials such as our kitchen and garden waste to create and enhance a healthy soil. Decomposing organic matter is eaten by billions of microorganisms or microbes. They are the centre of all life. 1 teaspoon of topsoil contains 50 billion microbes. They are essential in creating and enhancing soil fertility and structure, and they also help clean the soil from the pollutants. Compost, along with mulching, helps to retain more soil moisture. A lot of people mix up compost and mulch. Mulch is what you put on top of the soil to, prevent moisture loss and all of those things. Mulch can break down to be compost, especially if you use things like pea straw, but it's not compost until it's broken down. Let me see. All right. Compost is like lasagna. It's made up of many different wet and dry layers. In the garden, these layers are all organic materials and include things like food scraps, lawn clippings, pruning, straw, wood ash, manure, newspaper and cardboard. Lists are easily available. So you could start with a dry layer. So this is how we are putting together our compost. Start with a dry layer of cardboard, using examples, and then a wet layer of food scraps. And then another dry layer, straw, and a wet layer like weeds. A dry layer of twigs. So you see how we're building up wet and dry, wet and dry. prunings, wood ash, lawn clippings, and so on. The more diverse the layers or ingredients, the more diverse the nutrients. The wet and green materials are nitrogen rich and they are broken down by the bacteria. The dry or brown materials are carbon rich and they're broken down by fungi. These layers means that there's air through the layers, so if your compost smells, something's wrong. You need more dry layers. Herbs like comfrey are fantastic to include in your compost piles. So not only are they medicinal, but they help to break down compost. An easy method to make compost is to use recycled pallets. So they're about 1 metre squared. So you can just put one here, one at the back and one at the side. You can start your compost in that one, do another one side by side. So when this one is full, you turn it into the next one and you keep filling it up. When that one's full, you turn them over. So probably from about 6 weeks, and by the time you get to say 4 bays, you should have beautiful soil that you can add into your garden. If anyone's got any questions, please ask me later. But put your email and I'll share everything that I've done today. I'll get straight into the worms because I know we're running a bit out of time. So this product is supplied by the Australian Worm Firm, Peter. Peter is in Christabel today doing a workshop, but he's on board with us. Now this product is this one here, the Worm Castle. If you pop in and see Peter, he's at Smithfield. You can buy the whole setup with the worms and all the products together. And yeah, Peter's very helpful. So if we start with the bottom layer, you'll see that it has a tap. This is where the liquid goes, or the wormweed, whatever you want to call it. Then you will get your first tray, and you can see there's lots of holes for aeration and for the worms to move through the layers. So you simply just put it on the top. You notice there's clips on the side. The next layers will clip in and save it from blowing over and keeping it sturdy. All you do is get some newspaper and put it down on the first layer. Now you can actually add some compost if you've got it, or you can use peat, the coconut husks, coir, which come in the big blocks, or actually they're small blocks, but when you put them in a bucket of water and they expand, so you can get them, and it all comes in the box. So you need to spread that out so it's nice and damp. You don't want it runny. Just a couple of drops of water, maybe that's just a little bit too much, is what you're aiming for. So you spread that out on your tray. Then you get your worms. He sells worms, of course. You pour your worms in there.
What?
What? You pour the worms in. Okay. So there you've got your worms in now. There's a little worm blanket here somewhere. Where's he gone? This thing, I've lost my worm blanket. Anyway, so more newspaper. So on top of your worms, a few sheets of newspaper. Thank you. Very easy, 3 or 4 sheets. Just fold them in a square. On top of the worms. Okay. So there's a little blanket that comes in the box. He goes on top too. So when you want to feed your worms, you just start at one corner. So you've got all your scraps. It's nice to break them up small to make it easier for the worms to eat it. So just start in one corner and put the scraps in here and cover it all back over again. In a week or 2, just check it to see how much they've eaten. If it looks like they're eating well, and sometimes this will fluctuate, then you go to the next corner and you feed them to the corners and you rotate. And you fill up this until there's a little line here, you can see the levels. So fill that up, and when that's full, simply get your next layer. Oh, there's the worm blanket on this layer. There it is there. The other important thing to do is when you put your newspaper and your little worm blanket on, is just to wet it down. Not too much, you just want it moist. So you've got some nice layers happening there, and that's now full. Get your next tray. You can see the holes, so the worms need to travel between the layers. So this would sit, we take out our little blanket, we take out the top layer of the newspaper. So this is now going to sit on top of all the food that's being broken down. You'll see that it's starting to break down and look a little bit more like soil. So that will sit on top now, and the worms can come through. Any of the liquids, of course, go down to the bottom tray. You can use your tap and just start to fertilise, just water it down a little bit. So you're just going to complete that process again. So you're not going to put newspaper on the bottom now. You can put some more of the coir. You can put some compost, and then you're just doing it again. So you've got your newspaper, putting in your food, and just letting that build up. There's another tray. Continue the process, and there is a lid. It does clip down on the top. Okay, so about 2 months it should be that you can take off these top layers, and you should have a beautiful tray at the bottom full of worm castings. And that is simply the process of a worm farm. Does that explain everything? How did I go for time? Did I nail it? Thank you. Oh yes, this green one here. So this is actually being made in South Australia now, Australian worm farm. So this is a bigger worm farm. So for people with more room, of course, just undoing the bottom. You can come and have a closer look at it. I've got information for it. So yeah, it's a bigger version. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Where's our lady? Where's Kathy?